Sole intercessor, guide all ware, all wise, I pray thee free me and my fault forego, and from me drive mine evil and my woe. The gaoler stripped off his clean clothes and dressing him in two filthy vests, carried him to the Wazir. Nur al Din looked at him and saw it was his foe that sought to compass his death; so he wept and said, "Art thou then so secure against the world? Hast thou not heard the saying of the poet, 'Kisras and Caesars in a bygone day stored wealth, where is it? And ah! where are they?'" "O Wazir," he continued, "know that Allah (be He extolled and exalted!) will do whatso He will." "O Ali," replied he, "thinkest thou to frighten me with such talk? I mean this very day to smite thy neck despite the noses of the Bassorah folk, and I care not. Let the days do as they please, nor will I turn me to thy counsel, but rather to what the poet saith, Leave thou the days to breed their ban and bate, And make thee strong t'upbear the weight of fate." And also how excellently saith another, "Whoso shall see the death day of his foe, one day surviving, wins his bestest wish." Then he ordered his attendants to mount Nur al Din upon the bare back of a mule, and they said to the youth, for truly it was irksome to them, "Let us stone him and cut him down, though our lives go for it." But Nur al Din said to them, "Do not so. Have ye not heard the saying of the poet, 'Needs must I bear the term by fate decreed, and when that day be dead, needs must I die. If lions dragged me to their forest lair, safe should I live till draw my death day nigh.'" Then they proceeded to proclaim before Nur al Din, "This is the least of the retribution for him who imposeth upon kings with forgeries." And they ceased not parading him around about Bassorah, till they made him stand beneath the palace windows and set him upon the leather of blood; and the Sworder came up to him and said, "O my lord, I am but a slave commanded in this matter: an thou have any desire, tell it me that I may fulfil it; for now there remaineth of thy life only so much as may be till the Sultan shall put his face out of the lattice." Thereupon Nur al Din looked to the right and to the left and before him and behind him, and began improvising, "The sword, the Sworder and the blood skin waiting me I sight, And cry, Alack, mine evil fate! ah, my calamity! How is't I see no loving friend with eye of sense or soul? What, no one here? I cry to all, will none reply to me? The time is past that formed my life, my death term draweth nigh: Will no man win the grace of God, showing me clemency? And look with pity on my state, and clear my dark despair, E'en with a draught of water dealt to cool death's agony." The people fell to weeping over him and the headsman rose and brought him a draught of water; but the Wazir sprang up from his place and smote the gugglet with his hand and broke it. Then he cried out at the executioner and bade him strike off Nur al Din's head. So he bound the eyes of the doomed man, and folk clamoured at the Wazir, and loud wailings were heard and much questioning of man and man. At this moment, behold, rose a dense dust cloud filling sky and wold; and when the Sultan, who was sitting in the palace, descried this, he said to his suite, "Go and see what yon cloud bringeth." Replied Al Mu'ín, "Not till we have smitten this fellow's neck." But the Sultan said, "Wait ye till we see what this meaneth." Now the dust cloud was the dust of Ja'afar the Barmecide, Wazir to the Caliph and his host; and the cause of his coming was as follows. The Caliph passed 30 days without calling to mind the matter of Nur al Din Ali, and none reminded him of it, till one night, as he passed by the chamber of Anis al Jalis, he heard her weeping and singing with a soft sweet voice these lines of the poet, "In thought I see thy form when farthest far or nearest near, And on my tongue there dwells a name which man shall ne'er unhear." Then her weeping redoubled, when lo! the Caliph opened the door and, entering the chamber, found Anis al Jalis in tears. When she saw him she fell to the ground and, kissing his feet 3 times, repeated these lines, "O fertile root and noble growth of trunk, ripe fruitful branch of never sullied race, I mind thee of what pact thy bounty made; far be't from thee thou shouldst forget my case." Quoth the Caliph, "Who art thou?" and she replied, "I am she whom Ali bin Khákán gave thee in gift, and I wish the fulfilment of thy promise to send me to him with a robe of honour, for I have now been 30 days without tasting the food of sleep." Thereupon the Caliph sent for Ja'afar and said to him, "O Ja'afar, 'tis 30 days since we have had news of Nur al Din bin Khákán, and I cannot suppose that the Sultan hath slain him; but, by the life of my head and by the sepulchres of my forefathers, if aught of foul play hath befallen him, I will surely make an end of him who was the cause of it, though he be the dearest of all men to myself. So I desire that thou set out for Bassorah within this hour and bring me tidings of my cousin, King Mohammed bin Sulayman al Zayni, and how he had dealt with Nur al Din Ali bin Khákán;" adding, "If thou tarry longer on the road than shall suffice for the journey, I will strike off thy head. Furthermore, do thou tell the son of my uncle the whole story of Nur al Din and how I sent him with my written orders; and if thou find, O my cousin, that the King hath done otherwise than as I commanded, bring him and the Wazir Al Mu'ín bin Sáwí to us in whatsoever guise thou shalt find them." "Hearing and obedience," replied Ja'afar, and making ready on the instant he set out for Bassorah, where the news of his coming had foregone him and had reached to the ears of King Mohammed. When Ja'afar arrived and saw the crushing and crowding of the lieges, he asked, "What means all this gathering?" So they told him what was doing in the matter of Nur al Din, whereupon he hastened to go to the Sultan and, saluting him, acquainted him with the cause why he came and the Caliph's resolve, in case of any foul play having befallen the youth, to put to death whoso should have brought it about. Then he took into custody the King and the Wazir and laid them in ward and, giving order for the release of Nur al Din Ali, enthroned him as Sultan in the stead of Mohammed bin Sulayman. After this Ja'afar abode 3 days in Bassorah, the usual guest time, and on the morning of the 4th day Nur al Din Ali turned to him and said, "I long for the sight of the Commander of the Faithful." Then said Ja'afar to Mohammed bin Sulayman, "Make ready to travel, for we will say the dawn prayer and mount Baghdadwards." And he replied, "To hear is to obey." Then they prayed and they took horse and set out all of them, carrying with them the Wazir, Al Mu'ín bin Sáwí, who began to repent of what he had done. Nur al Din rode by Ja'afar's side and they stinted not faring on till they arrived at Baghdad, the House of Peace, and going in to the Caliph told him how they had found Nur al Din nigh upon death. Thereupon the Caliph said to the youth, "Take this sword and smite with it the neck of thine enemy." So he took the sword from his hand and stepped up to Al Mu'ín, who looked at him and said, "I did according to my mother's milk; do thou according to thine." Upon this Nur al Din cast the sword from his hand and said to the Caliph, "O Commander of the Faithful, he hath beguiled me with his words." And he repeated this couplet, "By craft and sleight I snared him when he came; a few fair words aye trap the noble game." "Leave him then," cried the Caliph and, turning to Masrur, said, "Rise thou and smite his neck." So Masrur drew his sword and struck off his head. Then quoth the Caliph to Nur al Din Ali, "Ask a boon of me." "O my lord," answered he, "I have no need of the kingship of Bassorah; my sole desire is to be honoured by serving thee and by seeing thy countenance." "With love and gladness," said the Caliph. Then he sent for the damsel, Anis al Jalis, and bestowed plentiful favours upon them both, and gave them one of his palaces in Baghdad, and a